everyone, and welcome back to the fifth part of the course, in which we'll be making the Blade of the Ancients from scratch using Blender. In the last video, we have finished blocking out the whole blade, and we learned how to join our objects together. And now, the part you all have been waiting for, we will be working in the sculpt mode. If you don't know how to get there, up here in this tab, you'll be in the object mode, so just like we did for edit mode, select the object mode up here and click the sculpt mode, which is third in the line. And now, I will show you the settings I used for sculpting since I will be working with my drawing tablet. It is much easier to sculpt that way, but if you use a mouse and keyboard, results will be as stunning. It's about the preference, really. And talking about preference, we want to go up here to the Edit tab, select Preferences, which is a different name for settings in Blender, then go to the Input tab. There we will find this mouse section and this emulate free button mouse settings. So you want to enable that. And if you're interested in these ones, you can copy the settings I have, or if you hover over them, they will briefly explain what they do. But before you exit, do not press X. You want to go down here, enable autosave preferences, or just save preferences. So if you autosave, you can click the X, it will save automatically, but just in case, I like to always manually save them. Then we're ready to begin. But this option, emulate free button grab, does some differences. So now, instead of using my mouse to move around, I use a pen. So I click with a pen and slide on the surface. To move around the object, I press and hold Alt and then click the pen on my screen, hold it and move it around. If you want to zoom in or zoom out, you want to hold Alt, hold Control, and then with your pen on the tablet, you want to go up to zoom in, go down to zoom out. If you want to move in the viewport, it is similar as before, so you want to press Alt and hold Shift, then you can move freely. So let's go over it. To move around the object, hold Alt and move your pen. To zoom in and zoom out, press Alt, hold Control, hold both of them, and then you can zoom in or zoom out. If you want to move in the viewport, hold Alt, hold Shift and move. And well, this is basically the only difference, because if you don't have that on and you have a pen and tablet, it will be much harder. I mean, it's all about the preference, really. I will show you what sculpting mode does. So first, sculpting allows you to edit an object using different brushes to get the result as if you're shaping clay in real life. It helps us get details and surface imperfections. It just helps us get layers which we can hardly get using the edit mode and moving vertices. But one thing before we get into sculpting, to make sure we don't get any future glitches, is we want to go to the object mode. First select the handle, then go to the object option and go to this apply tab. There you will find a bunch of options, but the one you want is to apply all transforms. The shortcut is Ctrl A, apply all transforms. Which that does is applies the rotation, location and scale of the object, because if we sculpt, well, our mesh is not centered and our transformations are not zeroed, it can very well get to some weird glitches. So you want to apply transforms whenever you are starting to do a different process. For example, you can see the location is messed up. We don't want that in sculpting because then the mesh will behave weirdly. So let's go, set Control A, no, Control A, not Shift A, apply all transforms. Do the same for the blade, select it, Control A, apply all transforms. And what you can sculpt with subdivision and other modifiers, which is a good thing. So if you have subdivision modifier or multi-resolution modifier, which I will explain in some other episode, you can sculpt freely. But now, let's just select our handle, go to the sculpt mode. And now, I will show you the option called symmetrize. Because, for example, if we press 3 on our numpad and zoom in, we can see up here that our mesh is not centered. So this is the axis and our mesh is going a bit to the side. So what you want to do is up here where there's X, Y and Z axis, which is a mirror option, you want to press this tab here, and down here you have the direction. So if you work the same as I am, you want to select, for example, the y-axis, and you have two options for y-axis. You have from minus y to plus y, or from plus y to minus y. So this one works for me. Then, when you select it, you want to press symmetrize. And now you can see our mesh is completely symmetrized. Otherwise, this part is. And now we can begin with sculpting. First, you want to do now is actually connect physically these objects. So now we can say these objects are just matched together. For example, instead of gluing them together, we just put them in a box and said that we are connected. Well, we need to glue them together to be a single object. And we do that by going to the remesh option. So voxel size is the size and the number of vertices which will cover our mesh. So the lower the number, the more vertices we will have. The higher the number, the less vertices. So these things are not important, nor this, because we will be sculpting. So let's leave it at 0.1 and remesh to see what result we will have. You can see something like this might happen. Well, this is because this number is too small. We have not many vertices, so we can just add a 0 for it to be 0.01. Or no, let's make it 0.05. You can see there is still not enough vertices. So maybe 0.01 is good. You want to Control Z and do that. And this is just experimenting. So when you find like this, so 0.01 works. You want to first find the right number that is not too high nor too low to make the biggest details. The lower you go with voxel size, the more details you'll be able to create, but it will be harder for you to sculpt the bigger details on a smaller resolution. And now, here on the side, you have brushes. And by clicking them, you select them. So first one we'll be using, and which is the most easier to start off, is this draw brush. So if I expand this window right here, you can see how they are called. And this helped me memorize them. So draw brush. And you see this icon right here. You have icons near radius and strength. So this icon means pen pressure. If you have a pencil or drawing tablet, if you stroke lightly, it will do a smaller stroke. If you press harder, it will do a bit bigger stroke. Then you have, so radius is the area of effect your brush makes. So you can adjust it up here by dragging or writing a set value. But by pressing F, you can resize your brush quickly. It's really helpful. For example, I'm sculpting something here, then I want to affect a bigger area, just go there. And it's much easier. In sculpting, shortcuts are everything. Then you have the strength. You don't adjust strength as much as the radius. For example, I usually leave it at like 300. No, 0.300, because that max strength is a little too much. You wanna see what happens if I do max strength? Okay. Whip. And yes, sculpting is not just something you draw a line and it's it. You need to do a little tweaks. It's better to have the lower strength. And before we begin our process, one other brush you need to know now is the smooth brush. The smooth brush does what you expect a smooth brush to do. So for example, let's draw a weird line like this. Here. As some kind of star. Then you go to the smooth brush. You can see we are smoothing. So we are not destroying the geometry, but we are blending it to look more as it is supposed to be there. So let's undo this. And you can also adjust the strength of the smooth brush. I usually put it to 0.200 because for me it's better to just stroke it many times than to erase everything I drew with one stroke. Okay, and now we need a reference. Where are you? Here you are. So we can also go to wireframe mode and we want to trace the shape. So, but first we need to look at what is in front of what. So we can see this belt right here goes over everything. But okay, well, I almost forgot. We want to enable the mirror up here because it will be easier. So the mirror, what it does, it symmetrizes something. For example, if I put something on one side, it will appear on the other. But now we don't want to symmetrize on the x-axis because we can see our mesh in front view is not symmetrical. We want to symmetrize it in this view. So we want to enable the Y symmetry. For example, you can see two dots. One is where I draw and the other just mimics what I draw. And you can see now it is the same. But let's undo that because we don't want random weird lines, okay? So make sure symmetry is always on. Then enable the X-ray view and we can start doing that. So you see this one, we want to trace it. So just draw over it. Then want to see this and you've done something. Then I would also like to make this edge a little less apparent, so we want to smooth it a bit. Draw, then smooth, and maybe make it like this. Same here, we want to smooth. Okay, and we can see we are already getting something. And one tip, if this image just bothers you and you want to see it only when you are in views such as front view, side view or top view, we can go back to the object mode, select the image, go into this image tab, and here we have the orthographic and perspective. If I disable perspective, I won't see our image unless I'm in front view, side view or top view. So that's what I do. I disable perspective in the image tab in object mode while having the image selected. Okay, now click back on the blade, go to the sculpt mode, and let's continue our work. So one, X-ray, and we can see we have one here. So we can trace this upper part, disable X-ray, smooth this a bit. And it's all about practice. because sculpting is mostly artistic. It does not require any geometry. You have complete freedom. And when sculpting, the tip I can give you is just don't just look at it like from the front. Try to look at it from different sides and decide if somewhere it's too thick, because when you're drawing, your view affects how you affect the mesh. So if you look at it this smooth that way, it will create a dent. But if you want to, for example, line it up, you can choose to, for example, this view, and you smooth it like this. Now, okay, let's press 1. This process is the one that usually takes the longest. Okay. Then we want to, for example, do this. Okay. For now, I will not be adding the shapes we are missing. For example, if I go to front view, you can see I'm missing the spike here. We will do that with different tools, some different time, okay? Now, you can see we have one under here, which we want to draw. Yeah, let's draw it like this. Then we can smooth it a bit. And if you see some weird things, just smooth them. It's that simple. Smooth this. Go to the front view. So we were blocking out our blade, and now we are blocking out our blade again. And here we can see this. This is why references are important. This. And if I turn around, you can see it is symmetrized. It's the same on this side as it is on this. Okay, we are getting somewhere. Trust the process, that's most important. And now we have this part like this. And if I zoom out, yes, it looks nice. 1. And if you think you don't see your reference clearly, or you want to see it better, you can go also to the object mode, and here you can adjust the opacity. So click on the opacity. From 1, you can drag it down. So I will actually make it more like this. For example, 0.7979 to see a bit better what I'm doing. Handle, scope node. Then I will trace this one, this one, this one. Then we can smooth a bit. And we are getting something. Yes, now it does not look like, for example, this is going over to this, but we will do that with more detail. We can also do is smooth these edges a bit. This will eventually be more spiky, so we can now just smooth it a bit like this. And you don't want to just, if something is not smoothing, it's because the geometry is like, it's not, I don't know how to explain it, but for example, if you remesh again, you'll be able to narrow it a bit more. And if you don't remesh, you see it's struggling to give you the shape you want. But now let's look, for example, like this. We'll smooth this below. But we don't want to smooth it too much, because we want it to have a general shape which we don't want to rebuild again. And you can see these edges are a bit thin, so we'll just smooth these ones like this. And the shortcut, you might have noticed that I don't go to the smooth option to smooth. I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier, but the shortcut for smoothing is, if you have seen here, is if you hold shift and draw with any brush, it will smooth. So hold shift and draw and you will get a smooth mesh. Let's do it a bit here. And you can see our blade is beginning to look better. In the next episode, we will continue to refine this part, and we will also make our upper part of the handle more round and more wood-like, as it's supposed to be. I want to thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing, commenting, sharing the video, so you don't miss the new part that is coming out soon. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.